Let's analyze the expected pardon and its impact on the political sphere. Joining us is our reporter covering the presidential office, Song Joo-young. Reporter Song, the list was released last week. When did President Lee make his final decision?
Formally, it would have been at today's special cabinet meeting, but in practice, it seems his mind was made up before leaving for summer vacation last week. That's because before his vacation, President Lee reportedly asked some aides about possible concerns if former party leader Cho Kuk were pardoned. Given President Lee's style of reaching decisions through discussion, his remarks at the time are worth reading between the lines. A senior presidential aide noted that Lee didn't ask pardon or not, but rather what concerns would arise if pardoned, interpreting this as a sign he was already leaning toward it, a view that seems convincing.
So he had decided before vacation and reviewed the concerns, but even before that, the Democratic Party had expressed worries, right?
Quite a few people reportedly conveyed those concerns directly to the president. The reasons boil down to 2 points. First, it was obvious that it would spark controversy, offering no real benefit. There were concerns that it might alienate public sentiment and weaken the administration's momentum early in its term. The evenly split public opinion on pardoning Cho also played a role, especially the high opposition rates among people in their 20s and 30s, which drew attention. Second was strategic. With strong support in the Honam region and status as a potential presidential contender, Cho's return at that time might not favor the Democratic Party. With a pardon restoring his rights, Cho could run for mayor of Seoul or Busan, and given that his party beat the Democrats in April's Damyang by-election, the ruling bloc, especially lawmakers from Honam, paid close attention.
And within the ruling party, while there was no strong opposition to the pardon, some suggested it would have been better to do it at the end of the year. Historically, politicians weren't included in the first pardon of past administrations. So can we think about why this unusual decision was made this time?
As you mentioned, looking back at past administrations, the ruling party had concerns, and the government also discussed excluding politicians from the first round of pardons. The first pardon under Yoon Suk-yeol focused on economic and livelihood offenses, and under Moon Jae-in, only former lawmaker Jung Bong-ju was pardoned among politicians. The Lee Jae-myung administration was also expected to focus on livelihood-related pardons, but suddenly shifted to include politicians for 3 reasons. It appears the decision was effectively made as demands from pro-Moon forces, including former President Moon Jae-in, were joined by those from civil society and pro-Lee Jae-myung factions.
The inquiry into Cho Kuk and his wife was predominantly driven by the political judgment and the prosecutorial efforts carried out by the well-regarded team of Yoon Suk-yeol.
The presidential office focused on the fact that although public opinion is evenly split, it is more favorable than in the past. A senior official from the presidential office stated that usually, pardons face higher opposition, but for former Minister Cho Kuk, support was higher. Historically, it is true that pardons for figures like former President Lee Myung-bak, former Governor Kim Kyung-soo, and former Professor Jong Kyung-shim faced considerable opposition. According to the poll, although within the margin of error, 46.2% supported pardoning Cho Kuk, while 45.6% opposed it. Lastly, if not on Liberation Day, a pardon could come at Christmas, but pardoning politicians ahead of next year's election could invite unnecessary misunderstanding. This is also said to have been a factor.
So based on the latest survey results, support for the pardon of Cho Kuk is slightly higher, even if this still falls within the margin of error. Then how has this influenced President Lee Jae-myung's approval ratings?
We'll need more time to see the impact. It is difficult to be definitive, but from President Lee's perspective, it seems necessary to manage the trend of his approval rating. A Relmeter poll today put Lee's approval at 56.5%, his lowest since taking office. There could be various reasons for this decline. Concerns include the ongoing capital gains tax controversy and insider trading claims involving Representative Lee Chun-suk. Additionally, the pardons of Cho Kuk and former Representative Yoon Mi-hyang are seen as significant negative influences.
It appears to have had a negative effect. This was reporter Song Joo-young.